What about other teaching techniques that you are about to try out or that you are using to great success?
So one that has been really fun for me has been what we call it is our demonstrations. And this year we actually called them our garage demos. We gave them actually a name. So about 2 years ago, we started doing physical demonstrations to illustrate dynamic biological processes, because generally we teach biology with two-dimensional slides, and there's nothing in biology that's static. There is just nothing. And so a two-dimensional slide really does not represent the biological processes we want our students to understand. So I made a few demonstrations out of just things I have in my house, or most particularly in my garage, because my children are older, toys have migrated out to the garage, and PVC piping, netting, nails, styrofoam balls, those are the things that are out in my garage. And we use these objects to illustrate the dynamic nature of different biological processes. And so I started, the first year I did, I think 2 or 3, so in the quarter, had 2 or 3 demonstrations. And in the free response comments when you get your student evaluations, those were commented on most heavily as to what students liked. So the next year, a year ago, I decided to add in a demonstration for almost every other lecture. And these are things that are, I use a huge piece of hose to demonstrate a plasmid. So the nature of these has to be big enough that they can be seen at the back of the classroom. They can be done in a 1 to 3 minute period, and they illustrate something that you can't easily illustrate on a slide. And they have to connect with the students, and they connect an ordinary everyday object with something I'm trying to teach them. And so it helps them organize this information in their brain, which is coming in at a huge rate, and organizing it is very important to first remembering it and secondly understanding it. And so then I got a huge number of comments, and my co-teacher at the time also introduced some demonstrations that said those were the best thing. So this year we had a demonstration for every single one of our classes. We have 30 or 28 classes in the quarter. Every class had a demonstration, and we videotaped them and then put up short video clips on YouTube where the students could go and review those concepts. And then we also did surveys to ask them how they used them, what helped them. And that was, again, the demonstrations get the very largest comments from the students. And they go all the way from, they really help me understand the concepts. I visualize these when I'm studying, to ones where I use socks to illustrate chromosomes during mitosis, and one of the comments says, every time I fold my laundry, I think about mitosis. and that is, and they actually, in my comments this year, we just named them garage demos this year. In my comments this year, they all refer to them as my garage demos.
And having a little name that they identify with you in your class is also community building, because it's sort of your bio speak, or your O'Dowd speaks, so to speak.
Yeah. Well, one thing we did this year that I also thought worked really well, we started out saying we wanted to build a community. We put our students in fixed groups of 4 to 6 students. They stay there the whole quarter, interact. And the last day, it's a cell biology class, cell biology and development, and very introductory, but we start out with a cell and we end up with the nervous system, where it's a collection of cells all put together. And so we made the analogy in the class. They started out all as individuals. They came in, they formed little groups, like little clusters of neurons, And in the end, they formed a whole nervous system all connected. And so our last exercise was each group drew a neuron. And then I took all their cards, pasted them together in a huge neural network, and tried to really bring home the fact that they started out as 444 individuals in this class, and they have finished this class as a neural network where each of these groups has interacted in some way or another with each other group because they've spoken up in class, they've interacted in their small groups, or they've interacted with us as faculty and we've interacted back with the class. And that, I was a little bit, I was not sure if they would think this was hokey, whatever. So I spent all night, seriously, pasting all these cards together, and I did them in order for each class. So I have 2 classes, so there were 86 cards for each class because there were 4 to 6 people per group and 86 cards. And I had put them in order so then they could identify themselves. And then I had to photograph it at high enough resolution that they could, if they expanded it, they could actually see not only their neuron, but they all signed their neurons. And so then I stayed up till like 3 o'clock in the morning doing this. And then when I showed it in the class, there was a huge round of applause. And I thought it was really worth it. I was thinking they might think, ah. So that's an example of doing something where 10 years ago, I never, ever would have tried that. 5 years ago, I might have thought about it, but it would have said, no, too risky. And this time I just said, I'll try it. If they don't like it, if they all say, oh, that's stupid, then I wouldn't do it the next year.